it's okay.
Can happen.
Hey, don't let it, a good lie. Don't let the truth get in the way of a good lie.
There you go.
So you put in for
All right, yeah, there
We're just taking the door and just round thing for you first.
I leave the door open.
I was over doing the speed hunt somewhere, selling it, and then the rains came.
What were you doing?
Yeah,
Good, they need it.
then the rain came, so I stopped. That's gonna be raining out all day tomorrow. Yeah, there's no speed humps on Ryan. Now you just brought it up, let's put speed humps on Ryan. I called the school board many times and they said, well, there's nothing we can do about it. Well, you know, I said, when they get me head on and everything, I said, I'll just sue you guys for everything you got.
Good evening and welcome to July. Welcome to the July 1st meeting of the Los Angeles Groves County. If we can have the roll call, please.
Mayor Brown.
Here.
Vice Mayor Darrell.
Here.
Councilman Golden.
Here.
Councilman James.
Here.
Councilman Fox.
Here. If you would stand for the pledge, remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, again, we thank you for the opportunity to serve the residents and landowners of Los Angeles Groves. We pray that this meeting will go well, give us stability, give us wisdom and guidance, and we thank you that we're not being hit by this hurricane, but we're also appreciative of the rain. We pray in your name. Amen. All right. If there are any additions to the agenda, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Your second? Okay, we have a motion by Jim, second by Ryan. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Moving to the consent agenda. Entertain a motion.
I'll make that.
Okay, Ryan makes a motion to accept the consent agenda. Okay, we have a second by Jim. Further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0.
That's the, I'm sorry, just to clarify, that was the consent agenda with the addendum, correct? You give guys addendum.
Yeah, Ryan, you're
Yeah.
on. Yes. Okay, moving to public comments. I just want to let everybody know we've got a lot on the agenda tonight, so if we can keep them for 3 minutes, it will help. I got Keith Harris.
Thank you, sir.
This is a citizen's assessment. I'm Keith Harris, 2580 C Road.
And you come up to the podium where the speaker can pick up your information and keep.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you for your time. I'm Keith Harris, 2580 C Road. I've been questioning culverts in this town for several months now. And in February 10th, the Waxahachie Road Water Control District Board of Supervisors reviewed and approved an interlocal agreement with the following language. The parties agreed and acknowledged that the eligible public roadway improvements include construction and reconstruction of roadways and drainage facilities, including but not limited to canal excavation, culvert replacement. My goodness, there's an agreement here that the town has entered executed and been filed with the court, with the clerk of the court, to make it a valid interlocal agreement, that the district's going to be funded $150,000 of gas tax money with regards in reference to state statute 336.025. The money's not to exceed $150,000. And Mr. Mayor, that statute allows for the funding of bridge maintenance. Now, I think this executed agreement should be stipulated by the town as a citizen mandated that all this gas tax money, this $150,000 going to the water district, should be stipulated for culvert replacement, for canal, roadway canal replacement. We've heard figures of $100,000. 4 months before that, it was only $70,000, but the water district seems to think it's $100,000. Well, there's a contractor in town, license number CGC 047246, will bill them tomorrow for $62,000, which is a lot different than $100,000 than what the water district is trying to scare us with. Water district has a contract with the town, $50 an hour. They have equipment, they have labor. You would think that the water district would replace these culverts themselves, but no, they subcontract everything out, which makes it tight. But we have an agreement, there is documentation, there is backup from the water district saying culvert replacement. So why are we having this discussion for all these months and people are saying that it's a responsibility of the town, of the property owner in the paper, when there's an agreement that was formed in February that says the water district is going to do culvert replacements? Good question. Maybe someone can answer that. Thank you.
Joe Nostr, please. Read your writing, sorry.
Joe Hospital, Compton Road. You guys recently came down and we went to 3 roads, we got the road paved, now it's clean. 100% improvement. We just came here. You don't have 35 people showing up for work because you've done something good for them. You have me and Mr. Murphy that came to thank the board, people involved in it. Now it's came out fantastic, Frank. You know, it's a prototype for the future because we've only done 3 roads. A lot of things you can learn from that road. The pavement looks fantastic. Are there problems with it? Absolutely. It's 100 times better? Yes. When we asked what we got, we did our own deal. Murphy and myself, we put 4 different culverts between the canals. We paid for our own culverts on the drainage side, not the main road, that was paid for. Underneath the roads, so the drainage from south to north would happen. I'll just make 2 suggestions in the future for the future roads. In the different towns and villages, they have ordinances. I don't know if we ever incorporated that. If you own the drainage ditch, because half the people in this room live on the drainage ditch, and half the people who are on the road, they don't keep that drainage clean, but you guys just came out and had this light for our for us. Can you incorporate something in the future that lets those people know, hey, it's been clean in the future? If it's not in writing, you know, it's not going to be taken care of. But if you tell them, now you have to maintain it. We did it for free. We got the town paid for those canals to be clean. It is 100 times better to see the problems. They were dug out, Mr. Chiquette. We took no money from us. He did claim with his excavator. Everything else was paid for, but if you, the first thing I would say is, now that you've done that, get a town ordinance going that. If you own that drainage and someone drained into that drainage, get your maintenance now, because I don't believe it's up to the board to have to maintain that the rest of your lives. It's their canal, they should keep it clean. That, you know, the culverts on the main road, you replace those. That's what you pay for. Ours we pay, you know, we pay for hours. Last thing is something real simple, which doesn't affect the people on Compton Road. Right after you pave a road, that beautiful black, nobody ever came back and did any of the speed bumps in there. There's a lot of strips. We painted. Mr. Murphy got strips. It's all been painted, but in the future, for liability, not for us. We did it ourselves, but in the future, if those speed bumps get painted like the next day, something, even a cone next to them, otherwise you have somebody go over that on a brand new speed bump that we paid all that money for, liability might be there. But what you guys did out there was absolutely fantastic. And for the people on Compton Road, thank you.
Thank you. Harold Murphy.
Aaron Murphy, 12345 Compton Road. I can't add much to Joe's comments except to thank you, gentlemen, immensely for what you've done. There's no more flooding in the yards. The drainage is working, and the road is outstanding. Everything is working right. There's a lot of people that were going to come tonight, and we figured instead of looking this place up for people, we could speak for them. So I want to thank you. As far as the marking of the speed bumps, if you're going to do that, if you let me know, we'll go ahead and do it. But if you're not, I'll go ahead and do it. I'll make some signs. I have the facilities to do it, and I'll mark the pumps, and I'll take care of it. Just get to me and tell me we aren't going to do it. We do it. I did it the last time we did it, and I went to DOT people I know, and I got the stripping and stuff, and we did it. So whichever going to be the easiest way to get it done, that really should be done. But other than that, it's perfect. And I thank you, and everybody else thanks you for what you've done.
Thank you. John Ryan?
John Ryan, 3508 A Road.
How are you, sir?
Just to get some facts straight, the language that was read regarding the interlocal agreement between the town and the district, that was to allow the use of gas tax funds for the public culverts that cross Okeechobee Boulevard. We spent $42,000 to clean and repair those from the effects of Isaac and other heavy rainfall, and also to deal with culverts at the corners of the canals where they meet one another and have to make a connection. The focus of having this interlocal agreement was to try and respond to the initial FEMA flood mapping, which classified virtually all the land in the district as a 1% flood hazard. And one of the ways we're trying to respond is to cooperate with the South Florida Water Management and other communities to validate that our canals are in the process of being restored to their original design water flow capacity. So we've got a continuous program of using equipment and fuel and manpower to do that, and we wanted to qualify those expenditures. I think one thing that is perhaps misunderstood is that it's been a long policy out here that the land on the west side of the canals is cheaper than land on the east side by virtue of the canal crossings that private landowners pay to get access to their property. I know when we were originally looking for property in Rhodes, I think it was on E Road, we had a realtor explain this to us. So the people that are on the west side of the canals have already had some benefit, and the quid pro quo was that they're responsible for the culvert crossings or the span crossings that comply with the district specs, because the district is responsible to assure full water flow. But for access to their property, those bridge crossings are the responsibility of the landowners. And I think I mentioned in a previous
No, we have
meeting.
a 3-minute time limit here. That's what you said? Are we past that?
Well, I'll wrap this up. The county made it clear to us that the culverts under Okeechobee Boulevard, even though they own the right of way, are the responsibility of the district for its public water flow, and that even though the county owns the road, they are not responsible for those culverts. So I think those facts need to be juxtaposed over the handout.
The agreement doesn't say that.
Okay. Moving on to presentations. Clement Clark and Michael Schuyler.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Town Council. My name is Michael Stark from the County's Department of Economic Sustainability. I'm here tonight with my associate, Clement Clark, to provide some information to you in regard to the interlocal agreement that the county is requesting that we renew for a period that covers the years 2015 to 2017. As background, Long Beach County receives funding under Home Investment Partnership Grant Program from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Fund. For example, these funds can be used to provide services from social service agencies for programs that assist the elderly, the disabled, victims of domestic violence, and those families and individuals who are homeless or at risk of becoming homeless. The funds that I'm talking about are also used to assist eligible low and moderate income homeowners with the rehabilitation of their homes due to code violations. We also provide technical assistance to businesses throughout Palm Beach County. The funds can also be used to address slum or blight in the community. And in this regard, we also can address emerging community needs, such as debris removal after a hurricane. In order to receive funding from the county, the county must qualify as an urban county, which is considered to be a type designation. This requires that an urban county program jurisdiction be established, which includes the unincorporated areas of the county and all local municipalities choosing to participate through interlocal agreements. Each town that participates in the urban county program contributes to the overall grant provided to the county by fund. So the more municipalities that participate in the program, the more funds come into Palm Beach County, which can then be used to assist residents of Palm Beach County. In 2011, the town signed an interlocal agreement with the county to participate in the urban county program. This agreement will expire next year. That is requiring the renewal of all agreements to cover the next 3-year period running from 2015 to 2017. This agreement will automatically renew at the end of the 3-year period, but only with the written consent of the town. Execution of the agreement will enable the county to continue to receive and utilize federal funds for the benefits of all residents and towns that partner with the county. I'm available for any questions that you may have.
Okay. Any questions by the council? Bob?
Just a couple. Is it, can landlords buy homes and stuff and rent them out with support from the government, from the county? Is like up north, I see a bunch of HUD projects in Wellington. There's a firefighter out there, I've seen HUD projects where basically it was made up of landlords and they were renting the apartments and stuff out. Is this the same type program or does it not allow that?
No, it's a different, I mean, landlords can purchase homes, on their own, but if they want to utilize anything that we have our funds, they have to rent those properties to people at fair market rates. They are strictly, so if you want to use any of our funding for development, because under our home program, we do have a developer rental program. So, but again, somebody would have to come in and rent those properties at fair market.
Okay. Any other questions?
In the last 3 years, how much money has come to Loxahatchee Groves from this program?
Was it the town itself?
Or anyone within the town benefiting?
Okay, from my understanding, I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody has a fund under our program from the town of Loxahatchee.
I have a house and it was a rehab program.
Okay, you did? Okay.
So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
No.
Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Okay.
All right, but it does help the county pull in more money so they can help other areas and stuff.
Exactly.
Rob?
I have a question. From the town's perspective, do we give up anything or any of the existing rights, limitations that we impose?
No.
Is it something that when we sign this agreement, does it give the county rights to direct something to happen within our town that we have no say over?
Everything, we come to you. You don't come, okay, for example, if Tropical Storm Arthur had become Hurricane Arthur and moved this way, and we had received money from the federal government for disaster recovery, we come to you and say, what do you need? Do you need help with debris removal, you need drainage, things like that. So you give up nothing.
As it relates to low-income housing, for example, is there any situations where the county can dictate to the town and say, if you want to be part of this agreement, you have to have so much in terms of low-income housing?
Because everything is based upon your zone. If you're zoned, if you want low-income housing, that's your prerogative. It's not ours.
So you would say it's all pluses to the town and there's no minuses as you would see it? Or liability for the limit? Okay.
All right. And I think that kind of answered my question. In other words, we're R5 out here. Now, we've got some places where that they're grandfathered in on less than an acre, less than 2.5 acres, but that's my main concern. In other words, it wouldn't affect our zoning.
No, again, if the developer came to us and said, I want to build this town, they'd have to get your permission first. We just couldn't walk in and say, you know, oh, well, the county's going to give me money. Because if you say no, we're also going to say no. So I'll have to look someplace.
Okay. Thank you very much.
There are a lot of various federal laws that we would become subject to that I wouldn't think that we would be agreeing to if we already would. And I would not, Mike also has an issue with this.
Okay. We're not going to deal with it. Were we going to deal with it tonight?
If it's on the agenda for later, it's up to you if you want to move it up and deal with it, but it's on item
Well, let's discuss.
9A.
Yeah, let's go to 9A, at least I thought. We've got another presentation. And, I mean, unless someone wants to move it up, I'll talk about that. Okay, thank you, all right. Sandra, Samandi?
Salon.
Samandi, okay.
Good evening, Mayor Browning and council members. Thank you for this opportunity to recruit for the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Citizen Observer Patrol Unit. You do not currently have a unit here, and one of our members is patrolling your area. I'm asking tonight if your council can reach out to the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office Volunteer Division and request a unit, which means a new car. And I'm willing to give you one of mine that is currently in your unit as we speak. She actually lives off of A Road. And if you can help me get more people to drive that vehicle to patrol your area, it would be a great service and certainly a help to Lieutenant Holmes. There are several opportunities in the COP unit. It's not just driving around in a car and observing. There's a dispatch unit, there's a marine patrol unit, there's a mounted unit, there's a bike unit, dispatch, honor guard, administrative, etc. There's lots of opportunities for volunteers, and it's a very rewarding program. I've been in it since 2009. Started off, we had basically 2 members. We have 9 now, and that's including the one that you have here. I do have 5 others that are going through recruitment now, so those should be coming on board soon. But it's very important that we get involved and help the Sheriff's Office because they cannot cover everything, and the acreage alone is 110 square miles. I'm not showing mileage out here, but it's quite large. So if you can help us recruit, I do have some a poster here. If you have somewhere local that you can put that up for the residents to see, and I have some brochures here. Also, my business cards for anyone that's interested. And also, you have a CERT team, which is incredible. I've learned so much from your CERT team, and I've been very blessed to be included in some of their training. And I started the CERT team out in the acreage, and we're up to 30 members now. And that was part of my interaction with your CERT team, getting me motivated to get those motivated out in the acreage. So we actually have another class coming up. It's next Tuesday, July 8th. It'll be every Tuesday and Thursday for 4 weeks. Palm Beach County State College or Palm Beach State College sends an instructor to us if I can get 14 or more people. Right now I have about 22 people in the class. So there is still openings if anybody's interested. You would then, once you get certified, you can become part of the Loxahatchee Grove CERT team, which is the Community Emergency Response Team, if you're not familiar with that. And those are the guys that we're going to be relying on to help our fire rescue and our sheriff's office, because we'll be the ones that'll get to you first before they'll ever get out here. And so it's very important the more people we have involved in that unit as well. And my last thing that I'd like to say is please come to the Acreage Green Market. I do that every Sunday. It's at Acreage Community Park, and you're really welcome. We'd love to have you guys be a part of that at any time. And we're always looking for people to get involved in the acreage and Waxahachie Grove. So you're our neighbor, we're your neighbor, so I'd like to see us try to work together on all these things. So if I can get you guys to possibly agree to write some type of request to the Sheriff's Office Volunteer Unit, I can give you that information on who it will be addressed to, and then we can go from there. And I can help you get your unit started and get some people out here to start patrolling. And you already have somebody that's interested in the Marine unit, so there you go. Actually, Lieutenant Combs is in this brochure. So this is from our Lieutenant Combs.
No, I said who, not who.
You saw this, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, we have communication with her. We want to follow her request to send a letter to the Sheriff's Office.
Sure. Do we need to get volunteers before we request a park? I mean, those are some of the things we just need to find out.
Is it a letter or? Yeah, I'll do a letter to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
Consensus to the other?
All right.
We can use a boat for our canal.
David, thank you very much. All right, moving to committee reports. Elise Ryan.
We had our meeting on June 30th, yesterday actually. June financials were approved 5-0. There were no reclassifications. The bank balance was $3.342 million. Through May the 31st, the general fund had received 67% of the annual revenue budget, 59% of the expense, over 67% of the year. Year-to-date revenue exceeded expense by $82,647. 2014-15 budget, which is what we spent most of our time on. The committee reviewed a copy of Section 6-01, Streets and Highways, of the 2013 Florida Municipal Officials Manual prepared by the League of Cities. I brought copies for you tonight. This document summarizes Florida statutes related to streets and roads, funding and assessments. The committee asked me by a vote of 5-0 to read the following paragraph from page 4 of this document. I'm going to quote. It says, a municipal government should have an established policy in place regarding payment for initial street improvements and should consistently adhere to that policy. To have no such announced policy or to make exceptions to an announced policy is to open the door to accusations of favoritism or unequal treatment. Waxahachie Grove does not have such a policy in a written council-approved. In the absence of such a policy, the committee does not believe we can recommend a meaningful, workable capital improvement plan. And for this reason, we did not recommend any specified funding for initial road improvements. This does not mean we believe this funding should remain undesignated. Rather, we believe that these funds should be designated for the benefit of our community as consistent with the Uniform Roads Policy. We believe this is needed in order to ensure that all our residents can know what options are available for improving the roads. The committee recommends that you develop and approve this policy based on public input, community workshops, as well as applicable referendums. The policy should address the basis of assessments for affected property, as well as sources of funding, general revenues, grants, bonds, assessments, etc., while ensuring adherence to existing Florida statutes. We noted that funds for some capital items need to be increased to reflect current project estimates. We recommended increasing funding for the traffic light at Okeechobee and B Road to $290,000 based upon the latest project estimates we had. The committee continues to support infrastructure improvements such as trails, as we believe they will benefit many of our residents and enhance property values. We recommended increasing the cost for the equestrian crossing to $60,000 based on input from the Trails Committee. There may need to be other changes to the budget as the trail project moves forward. We also reiterated our recommendation to increase millage to 1.5 mils. This is based on expense increases, projected decreases in some revenue items, as well as the need for the general fund to continue generating a surplus to provide funding for future projects. Any questions?
All right, any questions, any council members?
I have a small administrative thing for this.
Okay.
Would you have us, this nice little graph we have at the beginning of our package,
Yes.
would you change its range so that we don't continue to put all the numbers in the first grid? We've got it to $100 million range, and none of the numbers in our budget go over 250,000, so
Oh,
we
so
never use it.
round
Yeah,
it,
if
you're
you
saying.
change it, maybe
Yeah,
to
sure.
50,000, so it would make some meaning, and the numbers
We
and
can do
lines,
that.
the lines would make some distinction between all looking like the same size.
All right. And I have these handouts for you.
And I had one other item.
Okay, go ahead.
We had, line items were like 200% or some large number over our budget. Have you corrected that? It was, the contractual waste oversight. We have a budget of 7, with an actual 18K, and we have 257% of the budget.
Well, we'll need to do a budget amendment, for that, but I think the reasons for that have been brought to your attention by town manager.
Did they explain it to you?
Offset, well, it's been offset by some invoices that, it's been offset by reductions on the part of waste part of the vendor. I think there's $21,000 that have been, that the vendor has been fined, and this, this expense was incurred as a result of investigation work that needed to be done to achieve this fine. So we're actually $3,000 to the good on that. But, if you're not aware of it, then I think Mark can certainly make you aware.
I got it. We've got an offset someplace else. I think the problem I had, and we don't see the offset, but that's.
It's detailed in your package. It's at the bottom, it's a footnote. It's not a separate line, but it's in there as a footnote. Year to date.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
All right.
All right, any other questions for Elise? Elise, thank you very much. Do we need a motion to accept that?
Make a motion to accept the finance committee's May 2014.
Do we have a second? Second. Okay, motion by Jim, second by Ron. Further discussion by council. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Passes 5-0. Moving to item 7A.
Mr. Mayor, members of the town council, this is second reading and public hearing on proposed ordinance 2014-04. Go ahead and read the title. An ordinance of the town council, the town of Waxahachie goes forward relating to the use of livestock waste within the town, amending the town's unified land development code by amending part 3 entitled supplemental regulations, Article 50 entitled public nuisances by adding a new section 50-035 to be entitled use of livestock waste, providing for definitions, providing that the use of livestock waste is a public nuisance except as provided by this section, providing for registration permits, requirements, and limitations on the delivery and use of livestock waste, providing for reporting and notice requirements, providing for revocation of permits and enforcement, providing for conflict, severability, codification, and effective date. Just a little bit of background, this has been going on for a while. Your first ordinance, I believe, was in 2010. It was amended in 2012. The next ordinance, 2012-03. And that ordinance, when it was adopted, applied to both haulers and property owners as far as the delivery of waste. product. This council directed us, the staff, to go through and analyze the current regulations. We did that. We engaged, we reviewed the research, we spoke with authorities on the issue, which has been summarized before. And the town council has already adopted the ordinance that regulates the waste haulers, 2014-03. So that portion of the 2012 ordinance has been repealed. Anything in the 2012 ordinance dealing with the waste haulers has been repealed by your recent act in 2014. This is the ordinance that addresses the use of the private property owners. This provides for some consistency in regulations. It distinguishes between self and commercial haulers in some of the regulations. It provides for the limitations on the time to deposit by commercial haulers only. It does not have that same regulation for self haulers. It also provides standards for where the product can be spread and used, and those were taken from a best neighbors guidelines that were developed through the Florida Department of Protection. Those are in here. So this passed on first reading. It is a land development regulation. We require 4 votes in order to pass under the charter. It does contain changes as reflected at first reading, which were comments that planning and zoning board is recommended by myself and so I'll turn it over to you to conduct a public hearing and make a decision on this ordinance.
Okay. All right, and it is a public.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Someone want to make a motion and we'll second and discussion?
I'll make a motion to accept the ordinance.
Okay, Chair makes a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ron. Discussion.
In the interest of time, I'll just make my brief objection. I object to this because I believe it overregulates agriculture and doesn't have adequate exemptions. As an example for this, seeing property, the owners of which spoke to me about this issue last year, told me how useful it was to their business. There is bananas. They currently have a sign outside, 50 acres for sale. So as we do things which are seen as unfriendly to agriculture, business will react. So I think 50 acres of open space, pure bananas, no houses was a pretty good thing, but I guess 10 homes or whatever else they ask for, since they're located conveniently right up against 162nd, and probably going to want to try to pull the acres into bisections. But those are my objections.
Okay. Any other council members?
Yeah. One of the things that Mike touched on is that we are trying to include, and we've accomplished that, I think, in this ordinance, the good neighborhood guidelines. And my perspective on that is that we are looking here at an ordinance that takes into account both agricultural and non-agricultural side by side. And I think it tries to level the field a little bit between both those categories, so that if you are non-ag, you have some rights relative to distance from your property line that manure can be done, and the treatment of where treatment manure, but also where it's located relative to your property, water sources and water supplies and open farms. So I think there's a lot of good stuff in here that affords us the types of things I think that we need to look in a proactive way. It's relatively current information. We would have not had a chance to include in our prior documents and certainly not in the use code. But I think it's, I look at it as something that treats everyone equally. It gives the residents and property owners, it gets them involved in addressing the problem we have. I really think it's a giant step in our own behalf if we face any kind of scrutiny from environmental agencies in the future, where at least we can point to something that they've written that we've adopted and trying to address issues that we have. I'd like not to spend a couple of years that we had spent on the first ordinance to try to get it to where it really is effective, and more or less get into this with that experience behind us and adopt something that would have an effect on the community. I don't believe anyone, if you ask them really in the community, would not be willing to do their part in terms of protecting our way of life, protecting our natural resource water. I don't see it as a burden per se. I mean, if you have to get a free permit, we can make it even easier than making it free, and all you have to do is contact the town management staff by sending out a letter, which I would say is a good idea, to explain a little bit about what's gone on as it relates to manure. I would suggest to you there's more than half the residents in this town don't have any idea that it's precluded, even those that have been involved in having faced the problem. So, if nothing else, we need something to inform them. I would include with that letter an application form that says you can get a free permit, and these are some of the guidelines. And all you have to do is send it back to us. And we also can address the second ordinance as its second piece, if you will, or attempt to address the water quality issues, not to mention the fly issues and the things that we've heard about that maybe not everybody has faced. I have. But we could get something back from the staff when it's, say within a couple of weeks. If that's maybe not the next meeting because it's more dedicated to budget, but in August, that we would just kind of peruse and say that would give us kind of a statement that we want. But I think the emphasis is on this is a partnership in the town, all residents, all owners in this town. And I think that we have a few pages to our land use code, which is only going to be a few. It's well worth it because it addresses an issue that we, as you know, have been spending many hours on. And it has a benefit, I think, to the entire town, and then it's a current one. We did I believe, a shotgun approach to try to anticipate so many things that could come up, and try to write code to address those. This was not in the sites at the time. We now, I think, come up with something that's comprehensive. I don't see it harms anybody. And certainly if we get in a situation where it's an actual conflict with ag rights, that, ag rights were protected. So I think we just should pass it. And again, I think it's good for the town, and I think it's also something that would dovetail with something you've been kind of very personally involved with in terms of
Okay. Anybody else on the council? All right, Virginia Standish.
Virginia Standish, 15410 North Road. Let me identify myself as the person who filed a manure waste complaint because callers were coming in after 9 a.m. because manure was being put and not planted. Mr. Rocket, you do great in PR, but I really, again, please don't insult the residents by saying this is an equal thing and everybody would be willing to do this. I personally am insulted by this ordinance. Let's start with the fact that only manure affects our water. I'm sorry, I think it's nursery chemical runoff, and I think Dr. Lauda would have to testify to that.